Hello, welcome back everyone to the Linguasphere Academy Podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sam, right here with you. So glad you're with us again.
You know, I had a moment last week that I'm still laughing about. I was trying to order food at a restaurant. Simple enough, right? Just lunch.
Sounds simple. What happened?
I wanted to say, I'll have the chicken sandwich, but what came out of my mouth was, I'll have the chicken sandwich?
Sandwich?
Sandwich. The waiter just looked at me, I looked at him. We both just stood there for a second. Then we both started laughing.
At least he laughed with you and not at you.
He did. He was really nice about it. He said, "The chicken sandwich?" And I said, "Yes, that. Sorry, my mouth stopped working."
My mouth stopped working. I love that.
But it got me thinking. My English is fine. I know the words, I know the grammar, I can read novels and watch movies, but sometimes when I speak, it just sounds off. Not wrong exactly, just unnatural.
That's such a common feeling among learners. You know the language, you've studied for years, but something is still not quite right. It doesn't flow like a native speaker.
Today, our topic is why your English sounds unnatural and how to fix it. We're going to get to the bottom of this once and for all.
We'll look at the common mistakes that make your English sound stiff, robotic, translated, or just plain weird.
And more importantly, we'll give you practical, doable ways to sound more natural, more fluent, and more like yourself.
Because you don't need to sound like a native speaker. You just need to sound like a real person. And you are a real person.
As always, we'll speak clearly and keep it friendly. Lots of examples, lots of laughs, lots of real conversation.
So get comfortable. Let's start with the biggest reason English sounds unnatural. And I think you know what I'm going to say.
Translation. Direct translation. Word for word translation.
Yes, this is the #1 culprit. So many learners think in their first language and then translate to English.
The problem is, languages don't translate word for word. What sounds beautiful and natural in your language might sound strange or even funny in English.
For example, in some languages, you say, I have hunger. In English, we say, I am hungry.
I am 20 years versus I am 20 years old.
It makes fun versus it's funny.
I feel myself good versus I feel good.
These direct translations are not technically wrong. People will understand you, but they sound off. They sound like a translation.
So the first fix is to stop translating. Start thinking in English.
That sounds hard. How do you actually do that?
Start small, really small. Narrate your day in English. I am making tea. I am walking to the bus. The sun is warm.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be interesting. It just has to be in English.
When you're cooking, say, I am chopping onions. When you're walking, say, I see a red car.
The more you do this, the more your brain gets used to forming sentences directly in English.
Over time, you'll stop reaching for the word in your language first. The English word will just come.
Now, the second reason English sounds unnatural is using overly formal language.
Oh, this is so common. Many learners learn English from textbooks, and textbook English is often very formal, very proper, very old-fashioned.
In a textbook, you might learn how do you do, but no one actually says that anymore. Maybe in a very formal business meeting, maybe.
Or, I would like to inquire about the price, instead of, how much is this?
Or, is it possible for you to help me, instead of, can you help me?
Or, I am desirous of obtaining a position in your company, instead of, I'm interested in the job.
That last one sounds like a letter from 1950.
Exactly. Textbook English is correct, the grammar is right, but it sounds stiff and unnatural in everyday conversation.
So the fix is to learn real conversational English. Listen to how people actually talk.
Watch shows, listen to podcasts, talk to native speakers. Pay attention to the phrases they use.
They notice they use contractions, they use short sentences, they use filler words like well, so, you know, I mean.
They say gonna instead of going to, wanna instead of want to. gotta instead of got to.
Now, the fourth reason for making English sound unnatural is not using contractions.
Yes, this one is huge. I am going to the store sounds robotic. I'm going to the store sounds natural.
I do not know versus I don't know. She will call you versus she'll call you.
We have finished versus we've finished. They are coming versus they're coming.
Native speakers use contractions almost all the time in speaking. In informal writing, like texts or emails, they use them too.
Only in very formal writing, like business reports or academic papers, do they avoid contractions.
So if you want to sound natural, use contractions. Practice them until they feel normal.
I'm, your, he's, she's, it's, we're, they're.
I've, you've, we've, they've.
I'll, you'll, he'll, she'll, it'll, will, they'll.
Don't, doesn't, didn't, can't, couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't.
Say them out loud. Get comfortable with them. They are the key to natural speech.
Now, the fourth reason is stressing every word equally.
This is a subtle one, but it makes a huge difference. English is a stress-timed language.
What does that mean?
It means we don't give every syllable the same amount of time. We stretch out the important words and squeeze the less important ones.
For example, I am going to the store. A learner might say every word with equal emphasis. I am going to the store.
A native speaker says, I'm going to the store.
The words I'm, to, and the are reduced. They're almost swallowed. Going and store are stressed.
Content words like nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs are stressed. Function words like articles, prepositions, and pronouns are reduced.
So, I have to go to work becomes I have to go to work.
What do you want to do becomes what do you want to do?
Let me see becomes let me see.
Give me that becomes gimme that.
The fix? Listen for stress patterns. Shadow native speakers. Copy their rhythm.
Record yourself saying a sentence, then compare it to a native speaker. Where do they put the stress? Where do they reduce? It takes practice, but it's one of the fastest ways to sound more natural.
Now the fifth reason, not using filler words.
Wait, aren't fillers bad? We're told to avoid and
In formal speeches, yes, but in everyday conversation, filler words like well, so, you know, I mean, actually, basically make you sound natural.
Well, I'm not sure about that. So what do you think? You know, it's complicated.
I mean, it's not that simple. Actually, I disagree. Basically, we need to start over.
These little words and phrases give you time to think. They make your speech flow. They sound like a real person thinking out loud.
Without them, you sound like you're reading from a script, robotic.
So add some fillers to your speech. Don't overdo it, but don't avoid them completely.
Now the sixth reason, speaking too slowly or too carefully.
Many learners speak slowly because they're afraid of making mistakes. They want to get every word perfect.
But speaking too slowly can sound unnatural. Native speakers speak at a certain pace. There's a rhythm.
If you speak much slower than that, it sounds like you're struggling. It sounds hesitant.
The fix? Don't aim for perfection. Aim for fluency. It's okay to make mistakes.
Speed will come with practice. The more you speak, the faster you'll get.
Focus on getting the words out, not getting them perfect. A mistake spoken quickly is better than a perfect sentence spoken slowly.
That's a great line. A mistake spoken quickly is better than a perfect sentence spoken slowly.
Because the goal of language is communication. If the other person understands you, you've succeeded.
Now the seventh reason, not using idioms and phrasal verbs.
Native speakers use idioms all the time. I'm running late. Let's call it a day. I'm feeling under the weather.
It's a piece of cake. Hang in there. Hit the road. Catch you later.
These expressions add color to your speech. Without them, you sound like a textbook.
And phrasal verbs. Give up instead of surrender. Look for instead of search. Run into instead of encounter.
Learners often use more formal single-word verbs because they learn them from books.
I encountered my old friend sounds very formal. I ran into my old friend sounds natural.
I tolerate the noise versus I put up with the noise.
I postponed the meeting versus I put off the meeting.
The fix is to learn these natural expressions. Listen for them in podcasts and shows. Write them down. Practice using them.
Now, the 8th reason, not using the right level of formality.
Using commence instead of start in a casual conversation sounds strange, too fancy.
Using gonna in a job interview might be too casual, too relaxed.
So the fix is to know your audience. Match your language to the situation.
If you're with friends, be casual. Use contractions, slang, idioms.
If you're in a job interview, be professional. Use full sentences. Avoid slang, but don't be too stiff either.
When in doubt, err on the side of being a little more formal. You can always relax as the conversation goes on.
But if you start too casual, you can't easily become more formal. It's awkward.
Now, the 9th reason, not using question tags.
You're coming, aren't you? It's cold today, isn't it? You liked the movie, didn't you?
These little tags at the end of sentences make your speech more conversational. They invite the other person to agree.
Learners often say, "You're coming," yes? That's not wrong, but "aren't you" sounds much more natural.
The pattern is positive statement, negative tag. You are coming, aren't you?
Negative statement, positive tag. You aren't leaving yet, are you?
It takes practice to get the tags right, but they add a lot of naturalness to your speech.
Now, the 10th reason, not using discourse markers to organize your thoughts.
First of all, on the other hand, in addition, to be honest, actually, basically.
These words help the listener follow your argument. They show the structure of your thinking.
Without them, you sound like you're jumping from point to point randomly.
First of all, I think we need to consider the cost. On the other hand, the quality is excellent. To be honest, I'm not sure what to do.
See how the discourse markers make the speech clear and organized?
Learners often say, "I think," and without these signposts.
So practice using them. First, second, finally. However, therefore, meanwhile.
Now, let's bring back Maya. Maya has been learning English for years.
She can read well, she can write well, her grammar is good, but when she speaks, she sounds stiff and unnatural.
Her teacher tells her, "Maya, your English is correct, but it doesn't sound like a real person talking. It sounds like a textbook."
Ouch, that hurts to hear, but Maya knows it's true.
She decides to fix it. She starts with contractions. She forces herself to say "I'm" instead of "I am," "don't" instead of "do not."
At first, it feels strange, she has to think about it, but after a few days, it starts to feel normal.
Next, she works on stress. She listens to a podcast and repeats sentences, copying the stress patterns.
I'm going to the store. What do you want to do?
She feels silly doing it, but she keeps going.
She also starts using filler words. Well, I think, so basically, you know what I mean?
Her friends notice a difference. "Maya, your English sounds so much more natural. What changed?"
Maya smiles. I stopped trying to be perfect. I just started talking.
She's not using different words. She's not learning new grammar. She's just using what she already knows in a different way.
And that made all the difference.
Now, let's talk about the role of listening. You can't sound natural if you haven't heard natural English.
So listen a lot. Podcasts, shows, movies, YouTube, audiobooks.
Listen for the things we talked about: contractions, stress, fillers, idioms, phrasal verbs, question tags, discourse markers.
The more you listen, the more natural English will sound to your ear.
And the more natural it sounds, the easier it will be for you to produce it.
Now let's talk about the role of speaking practice. You can't improve your speaking by only listening. You have to speak.
Shadowing is great for this. Listen to a short audio clip and repeat it at the same time as the speaker.
Don't pause, just follow along. Try to match their speed, their stress, their intonation.
It's hard at first. Your mouth won't keep up, but with practice, it gets easier.
Reading out loud is also helpful. Take any English text and read it out loud.
Pay attention to your pronunciation. Pay attention to the flow. Read it again, trying to sound more natural each time.
And recording yourself is powerful. It's uncomfortable. No one likes hearing their own voice.
But it's the fastest way to improve. You'll hear things you never noticed while you were speaking.
Oh, I'm speaking too fast here. I'm not stressing that word correctly. I sound so flat.
Then you can fix those things, one at a time.
Now let's talk about the role of feedback.
You need someone to tell you when you sound unnatural. You can't always hear it yourself.
A teacher, a language partner, or even an AI tool can help.
Ask them, does this sound natural? How would a native speaker say this?
Then practice their suggestions. Say the natural version until it feels comfortable.
Now let's look at some common unnatural phrases and their natural alternatives.
Unnatural, I am going to sleep now. Natural, I'm going to bed.
Unnatural, how do you feel about that? Natural, what do you think?
Unnatural, I am in agreement with you. Natural, I agree.
Unnatural, please repeat that. Natural, sorry, could you say that again?
Unnatural, I have no knowledge of that. Natural, I don't know about that.
Unnatural, what is your name? Natural, what's your name?
Unnatural, I would like to order a coffee. Natural, I'll have a coffee, please.
Unnatural, it is not a problem for me. Natural, no problem.
Unnatural, I am very tired at this moment. Natural, I'm really tired right now.
See the difference? The natural versions are shorter, simpler, and use more contractions.
They also use more common everyday vocabulary. Tired instead of fatigued. Ask instead of inquire.
Now let's practice a conversation using natural English.
Hey Alex, what are you up to later? Not much, just gonna grab some dinner and head home. You?
Same, I'm pretty tired. Long week.
Tell me about it. I'm ready for the weekend.
Me too. Any plans?
Not really, just gonna relax. Maybe go for a walk if the weather's nice.
That sounds perfect. Enjoy.
Thanks, you too.
Notice the contractions. Gonna instead of going to. I'm instead of I am.
Notice the short sentences, the casual phrases. Tell me about it instead of I agree.
I'm ready for the weekend instead of I am anticipating the weekend with pleasure.
Haha, yes, no one talks like that.
That's natural English. It's relaxed. It's friendly. It sounds like two real people talking.
Now let's talk about the role of confidence.
When you're nervous, you speak more carefully. You think about every word. You sound more stiff.
When you're confident, you relax. You stop worrying. You sound more natural.
So building confidence is part of sounding natural.
The more you speak, the more confident you become. It's a cycle.
Start with low-pressure situations. Talk to yourself. Talk to your pet. Order coffee.
Practice with a patient friend. Join a conversation group where everyone is learning.
Each small success builds confidence, and confidence leads to more natural speech.
Now let's bring back Maya one more time.
Maya's been practicing for 3 months. She's made huge progress.
She now uses contractions naturally. She stresses the right words. She uses filler words.
Her friends say, Maya, your English sounds so much better, more relaxed, more like you.
She still makes mistakes. She still has an accent, but she doesn't sound like a textbook anymore.
She sounds like a real person, and that's all she ever wanted.
Now, here's your challenge for this week.
Choose one thing to work on, just one. Don't try to fix everything at once.
Maybe it's contractions. Whenever you speak, use I'm instead of I am. Don't instead of do not.
Maybe it's stress. Listen for stressed words in a podcast and copy them.
Maybe it's filler words. Add well or so or you know to your conversations.
Maybe it's idioms. Learn one new idiom and use it 3 times this week.
Focus on that one thing for 7 days. Don't worry about the rest.
Use the 2-minute rule. Just practice for 2 minutes a day.
Use habit stacking. Attach your practice to something you already do.
After I brush my teeth, I will practice my one thing for 2 minutes.
Track your progress. Put an X on your calendar every day you practice.
Don't break the chain. If you miss a day, use the never miss twice rule.
Then come back and tell us in the comments. What did you work on? How did it feel?
We read every comment. Your progress inspires us and other listeners.
Remember, your English doesn't have to be perfect to be natural.
Perfect is robotic. Natural is human. And you are wonderfully, beautifully human.
You don't need to sound like a native speaker. You just need to sound like yourself.
Because yourself is the only person you can be, and that's enough.
Thank you for spending this time with us. We'll be back next week with another topic.
Until then, relax, breathe, and let your English flow. You've got this.
Bye for now.
Bye.